So today is the first day. We're going to be starting a few projects over the next few weeks, and this is one I've just finished. So this is a 1979 Kawasaki KZ 650. So I bought this from everyone's favourite internet auction site. It's a US import. Needed a fair bit of work when it came in. It's had new pipes, new tyres, rebuilt brakes, rebuilt forks. All it's waiting for now is an MOT and a registration. It's had some new bits and pieces on it. It's had new front indicators, new fork shrouds. These are actually wrong. They should have a seam on this particular year, but I didn't like the seam, so I bought the earlier models. This has not been a pristine restoration, as you can probably tell. It was done on a bit of a budget, but it was also done to be usable. I'm not too worried about nuts and bolt rivet counters and is this the right part and this, that and the other. For me, a bike has to be usable, rideable, and they're the most important things to me. So it's had a new 4-in-1 pipe fitted on it. Valves have been checked, top end's been looked at, it's all good. As I say, it's had new brakes front and rear, new seat, new paint. Paint, as you can see, isn't original. This paint job cost me in the neighbourhood of about 20 quid. Only because the paint was bad. I had a load of white paint left over from a previous project, so decided a couple of tins of high build primer, some petrol proof lacquer and some pinstriping, and away we go. So paint's far from original, but you know, it's usable, it does the job. It's had new chain and sprockets. Everything else has just been cleaned up. The bike underneath, all the muck when I got it wasn't actually that bad. And the great thing about US imports is, providing you get it from the right state, you don't tend to have too much of a problem with rust. The only part I couldn't get for this bike was an airbox. Didn't come with one, couldn't get a decent one anywhere, so I ended up going for pod filters. Now, a little word about these type of pod filters. You can get these on eBay for give or take about 10 quid for 4 from China. These filters cost me 60 or 70 quid. They're from a company called Ape that make good quality stuff, a lot of it for drag racing. The cheap filters you buy from China, they tend to leak on the end caps, and here they're not sealed properly. The other thing is if you take one of these filters off, I'll see if I can find a screwdriver and show you. It tends to be very thick, okay? This lip here tends to come down. Now if you look on the underside of this carb, you have these airways here, okay? And what happens is, you see this more on CV carbs, GSXR, oil-cooled GSXRs and Bandits and stuff like that. Run a CV carb, they have 2 slots up here to let air in, okay? And if this lip is very thick, it tends to cover the slots on these airways here. Okay, so you'll never ever get your bike to run right. So this lip here is paramount, that basically when it goes over the mouth of this carb, that you haven't got anything thick here blocking these. Okay, if you do, you'll never get your bike to run right properly. Okay, so these are decent filters. They're worth their money. I fitted them. Bike actually runs really well, but it needs proper setting up. I think it's a little bit on the rich side at the minute, and until I can run it, ride it about a bit, then I can play with a setup on it. But it actually, at the minute, standard sort of settings I've set it up to, it runs really well. As soon as it's on the road, I'll do some more mileage on it. It's only got 20,000 miles on it. I believe that's probably original. It's the other advantage with imported bikes, they tend to be low mileage, which is a good thing. What else has it had? New master cylinders, mirrors. Again, none of this stuff is genuine original Kawasaki or you know, new old stock and stuff like that. It's bits and pieces that I've got. Handlebars are new. Came from a company called Z Power. They're very good for older Japanese parts. The seat is a pattern item. It does the job, looks nice, quite comfy to sit on. So I haven't actually ridden on it yet. But pretty much we're all good. So this took me about 6 months, give or take, of messing around at weekends and doing it. So I'm pretty pleased with how this one's come out. So moving on to what we'll be looking at in the upcoming videos is this. So this is a 1974 Kawasaki KE250 F11. Again, came from everyone's favourite internet auction site. Again, it's a US import. Looks pretty rough, but actually underneath all the dirt and the grime, it's actually a pretty sound bike. Runs really well. It's very original. When I got it, the tank was all dented in down this side. There is still, if you look at it, it isn't quite straight. You can still see that dent there under the A and the K, just there. But it's original paint. Now with this, I was going to rub it all down, paint it up, get new decals for it, etc, etc, etc. But the only thing is, with these old bikes, I kind of like to see the originality, the age of the bike, you know. And as nice as it is to have something that's all been painted and looks really fresh, it kind of ruins it a little bit. It takes the history out of the bike. As you can see on this, things like the wheel rims are really, really good. The spokes are really good. The frame's solid. As I say, it's grubby. I haven't really done too much to this yet, but it's all there. And the motor runs really, really well. Motor runs really good. So as I say, it's grubby underneath, but I think it'll all clean up. It's not too bad. The seat was missing a portion over here, had a big rip. This bike, the parts are not so easy to get for. So I had an old seat and I cut some material out and attached it. It's not perfect, but for what I want it for, it's not bad. This one, when I picked it up, the speedo was showing about 5,000 miles. Back of the speedo was smashed to pieces. Speedo still worked, but it was beyond repairable. So this is actually a KE175 speedo, which is showing 4,000 miles. So we're about 700 miles under what was originally on the dial, but we're not too bad on that. Had to get another ignition switch as well, because the previous owner had snapped the key off in the lock, presumably so they wouldn't have to keep finding the key for it. As I say, it come from the US. It looks like a farm bike, so it was probably just left in a barn and used as and when. Unfortunately, this switch comes complete with all of this, these lights, idiot lights. This was a hard part to get hold of. The problem is with this particular model is they didn't make them for very long. They weren't massively popular. They seem to have sold the majority of them in the US. I'm in the UK, which makes getting some parts quite difficult. Even things like this brake lever, I was quite lucky. Again, it's a KE175 brake lever. I don't know too much about cross parts on Kawasaki's. I've not had that many, generally more Suzuki's over the years. So it's a bit of a learning curve, but like a lot of things, they share parts, which is handy. At the minute, this is what I've got to contend with. It's not too much, and I'm sure there's loads of you out there that will look at that and think that's simple. I'm not the world's greatest bike electrician. We got some homemade, I don't know if you can see that down there, some homemade bits and pieces. I don't quite know what's going on with that or why that's been cut into that. At the minute, not a lot works. We got a single light on the dashboard, and the horn is trying, and that is about it. That's all we've got at the minute. But this actually, I think, to put it on the road won't be too bad. We're not going to run with the indicators simply because it's 6-volt electrics and they're useless anyway. So we need job list wires, we need fork seals, front tyre. Handlebars are bent, so we're going to need some new handlebars. What else? Shocks aren't great. They're clean enough, but there don't appear to be a lot of damping. So I think they're sitting on the springs. So we may need to look at them. Everything else, just to clean up, get it back together, get it running nice. Doesn't run bad at all now, but could do with a little bit of tuning up. This didn't come with it, just another cross-reference of parts. So this is a KH 100 rear light mount and a KE 175 rear light. That's my understanding. Bought separately via eBay. Cost me about 20 quid for the pair, which I didn't think was too bad. So this is what the next video is going to be based on. What we'll be doing yet, I don't know. Whether it's the wiring or something else, I'm not quite sure. But thanks for watching.